In the last 24 hours, Eskom has said there's no money to keep buying diesel in order to keep the lights on. The power utility has already spent nearly 11.2 billion rand on diesel in the past year. There's been more than 140 days of power cuts during the course of this year. Joining us now is former Eskom Chief Executive Jacob Maroga. A very good afternoon to you, sir. Welcome to the program. So the announcement from Eskom seems somewhat of an inevitable occurrence, does it not, given that its finances weren't rosy to begin with?
Yes, indeed. Good afternoon. I think it was inevitable that at some point the use of diesel will strain their finances and they cannot sustain it beyond what they have.
So what do they do now? Because Eskom is in a tricky position, right? It needs desperately to do maintenance, but it also lacks capacity to keep the lights on regularly. At an immediate level, what needs to happen?
Well, what they're saying now, the statement, part of their statement is to say they're going to be doing quite extensive maintenance in the coming months, and hence they have said the system is going to be quite tight. And therefore, we must brace ourselves for extended load shedding. So they will be doing maintenance, but as they do maintenance, capacity is going to be short, and then there will be more load shedding. That's what they're saying.
And it was interesting yesterday because there wasn't an immediate escalation in the level of the power cuts, but I'm looking now, in fact, at a tweet from Eskom in the last 4 minutes where they say that stage 3 load shedding will now kick in at 4 p.m. this afternoon until 5 tomorrow morning. Can we immediately say that Eskom should just figure out a roster that we can all stick to until the worst is over? Why can't we do that?
Well, they've said they've considered that, and they've considered it to be not feasible because even if you stay at one stage of load shedding, things could change that makes it worse. So there's going to be, from stage 1 to 6, intermittently for the extended period. My own prognosis is that we're going to be in this situation or worse for an extended period. And I don't think, listening to them, I don't think there's a credible plan that is going to turn around the situation. So we will have to brace ourselves for a worsening power situation for some time to come.
Which means what then for what has been the target so far of up to 18 months before things begin to normalize or stabilize? Do you think that's now unrealistic given the lack of finances, especially to procure diesel?
Well, you see, if you put a timeline, but if the timeline is based on a plan that we can scrutinize and verify, maybe then, we can say the timeline is realistic. The timeline, I think it's just a timeline. I don't think it's based on anything. We've had the 12 months, we've had the 18 months, and it looks like it's a rolling 18 months. When the 18 months finishes, it's just another 18 months. I think reading from what they're saying, the brutal truth or the message that they're sending is we really don't know when this is going to end. We don't have a plan, so brace yourself for the worst.
It's also owed Eskom 52 billion rand in debt. Much of that is historic debt. Is there any hope now that it'll actually be able to get back a significant chunk of that, or do they simply have to move on and write it off because people aren't going to pay?
Look, I think beyond a certain time period, once you own a lot of money, the chances of actually getting back that money becomes a problem, because the people that are owing you money also have to find that money. So the 52 billion debt that is owed by municipality, most of it I don't think will be recovered. That is continuously going to put a hole in the finances of Eskom, and it also just means an unsustainable power industry, and it's all going to impact on us in the coming months.
Just on that then, what do you make, in line with what you've said, are suggestions even from someone like President Ramaphosa that there may be a solution sought for communities such as Soweto where there's such a massive debt there? Is that workable?
I'm not sure, which solutions you're talking about.
Well, suggestion as far as writing off some of the debt, yes, the President in speaking recently suggested that would have to happen with conditions, but can Eskom afford to write off such massive debt?
Well, look, writing off debt is always problematic unless you've got a good solution for the future. Because you write it off this year, it accumulates again, and you have to write it off again. I think the issue is, do we have plans for sustainable solutions around debt? Because it's not only debt by individuals like in Soweto, by municipalities, by large customers. If you don't have a sustainable solution, writing it off is not a solution. So I just think that at the moment, I don't see a clear plan of actually getting out of the debt situation with clients.
We also got yesterday news that the acting head of generation at Eskom had quit barely a few months since the person who held that position previously had also left Eskom. Now there's a search for a successor. If that job is becoming so unattractive, what does that tell us about the management response and preparedness to deal with this crisis? Does it dent further the confidence for you and the broader public?
It's actually concerning. I think in the space of 24 months, Rulani is the third person to resign from that post. And what is worrying is almost like resigning with immediate effect, which is, I think at senior level, at least you need, some kind of a plan to hand over to whoever is coming. If you live in 30 days, there's no handover plan. So which means the management of the generation division is becoming a problem, and it's going to continue to be a problem. And that's where, the biggest problem is in terms of lack of capacity. So my view is that, yes, it dents confidence in terms of the plans to stabilize generation. And also, I'm just surprised that the way they let people go in such a short period. It's not looking good at all.
Jacob Maroga, former Eskom Chief Executive, thank you for your time, sir.